Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Beautiful Monday out there. Glad you could join us. We're going to talk a little bit today, of course, about COVID. We're going to talk about vaccination events over the weekend. And, of course, we're going to take your questions. So, starting here with the COVID numbers, they continue to look good. We had a little uptick in the numbers the last 3 or 4 days, which of course is always concerning to us, but our numbers are still good. Yesterday, we reported 23 new cases in the city of St. Louis. That gives us an average of about 20 cases, 7-day average of 20 cases per day. And so those are good numbers. Those are numbers that we have not seen in a long time. If you look back to the same day, at the end of January, we were running an average of 76 cases a day. So you can see that we've gone from 76 cases to 20 cases a day in the last month, and that's those are some very significant numbers. In terms of hospitalizations, and you know these days, these numbers lag 2 days behind. We are at 306 hospitalization in the region today. That includes COVID positive and suspected positive. Also, one of the lowest numbers that we've seen in months and months. 72 of those folks are in the ICU, and 48 of those folks are on ventilators. So still a number of folks that are very ill, but again, looking back to what those numbers were 30 days ago. 30 days ago, there were 131 people in the ICU, and today there are 72. There were 88 people on ventilators. Today there are 48. So, you know, you can see the progress here, and these numbers will be posted a link to the numbers. So. Patients admitted to the hospital now running a 7-day average of about 41 per day. So good numbers attributable to, of course, the mitigation factors that we've done, which is mask wearing, social distancing, hand washing, and also the rollout of the vaccines. With regard to vaccines, we had a very successful event on Saturday at the Omega Center, which is at Goodfellow and Natural Bridge, roughly, and vaccinated around 1,500 people. Those invitations, it was an invitation-only event. All of the events are invitation-only. Invitation-only event, and we invited those folks who were on our registry from the zip codes, the surrounding zip codes there in North St. Louis. Vaccinated a lot of people. The vast majority of the folks who showed up were over 65. We did have a few folks that were under 65 who had severe underlying health conditions. And so that was a successful event, and in 4 weeks we'll be back there again to give them their second shot. This Saturday, the 6th, we will be having another vaccination event. This one will be at Carpenter's Hall in South St. Louis. That's on Hampton. Tomorrow, sometime during the day tomorrow, invitations will be going out to individuals on our registration list who are in zip codes in South St. Louis, such as, I may have missed 63139, 63109, 116, 111, 118. And so those folks will be getting an invitation tomorrow. You will be invited based on the order that you signed up. So there certainly will be more people who have in those zip codes who have signed up, but the sooner you signed up, then you're more at the top of the list. You must have an appointment, so you have to reply to the invitation that comes out to you. So we'll be doing that on this Saturday, and then of course there will be more events as we go along here. One of the things that we know is that this week, the health department, and we just received notice of this, will be getting both the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. We also know that yesterday, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was approved. We expect to get some of that. We have a call this afternoon at 4 o'clock with Governor Parson, and we're hopeful to learn then how much, when, etc. We're going to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is very encouraging because it's one shot. It is very effective at keeping you from getting really sick or being hospitalized, which of course is the most important thing. And we think it will be very convenient for a lot of people. We don't know how much we're going to have yet, but we expect to learn that later this afternoon or maybe tomorrow morning. It's my understanding that last night the Johnson & Johnson vaccine began being shipped. Whether it's actually arrived in Missouri yet or not, I don't know that at this minute, but if not, it should be fairly soon. There are vaccination events all around the state. You know that there's actually, the state puts out a list of where their mass vaccination events are going to be, and we can post a link to that also on our website, so that you can know that, because they're all over the place. They are more in rural areas than they are here in the city of St. Louis. But for those of you that are able to travel, it may be easier for you to get an appointment there. What else? I guess the last thing I want to mention today is that just this morning, I guess it was, Judge Michael Stelzer signed an administrative order continuing the eviction moratorium until April the 5th. It had expired today. This is something that we have worked on continuously over this last year with the judges, and they have continued to extend the eviction moratorium. It's the same conditions as the last one, which is that evictions are stayed. There's a moratorium on evictions unless there is the individual or the tenant is engaging in criminal activity, threatening the health and safety of other residents, damaging the property, violating the building codes. So in other words, if the reason that they're not paying their rent is simply because they have lost their job or their hours have been reduced, there is a moratorium on those evictions. We do have a rental and mortgage assistance program. We have already funded well over 2,000 units with that with the rental and mortgage assistance program. And we have additional funding, and we are beginning to take applications for that funding as well. So the federal government put some new guidelines on the new money, and so we're also beginning to process that. Some of you may know that today is COVID Memorial Day, and there were 152 mayors around the country who signed on to declaring this a COVID Memorial Day for the over 500,000 people who have lost their lives to COVID. And last week we had the flags at half-staff to remember those folks, and thinking today of their families and their friends, and just encouraging everyone to continue to follow the mitigation procedures, wear your mask, socially distance, and please get the vaccine as soon as you are eligible and it's available to you. So that's what I have for today. Is there, do you have some questions?
So Alice has a question about being eligible and living in the city of St. Louis, eligible for the vaccine, but seeing so many people having to drive 2 or 4 hours to many other parts of the region and the state to get vaccinated.
Right.
Will that get better, or do you think that that's what folks are going to have to continue to do?
Alice, I think that's going to get considerably better. We know that both Pfizer, Moderna, and now Johnson & Johnson are all producing more vaccine. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, the city of St. Louis is seeing more vaccine this week than we saw last week, for example. So it will get better as this vaccine becomes more available. We We are encouraged by that, but also understand that we need more mass vaccination events right here in the heart of the St. Louis area.
Deborah's question has to do with the Phase 1B Tier 3 that's beginning on March the 15th. Will the city be able to go straight to those individuals? She's 71 with an underlying health condition, hasn't been vaccinated yet, or will the city continue to make its way through seniors and adults like her?
So the governor announced last week that Phase 1B Tier 3 would become eligible to receive the vaccine on March the 15th. We still have many, many seniors who have not had the opportunity to get the vaccine. And so we hope to continue to work through those seniors. We hope to have enough vaccine, either through our own vaccination programs or through the hospitals. And if you have signed up for one of the hospital registrations, which I certainly hope that you have, most of the hospitals, it's my understanding, have now worked, they began working on this at age 75, went to 74, 73. I actually got an invitation last week, I think it was on Friday, from a hospital. I happen to be 68. So I would have hoped that by now you would have received an invitation from one of the hospital systems, because they have gotten the majority of the vaccine to date, and they are in the best position to distribute the vaccination. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to continue to vaccinate based on the tiers and get enough vaccinations so that we can get all of the seniors who want to be vaccinated.
Not a question, but a comment from Carrie, who got her first vaccination at the Omega Center on Saturday. She was on 8 different lists and was very pleased to get communication from the health department. I would like the health department to know the vaccine site was very well run. Thank you, Carrie.
That, if you were there, I may have seen you there. It was a good event, and I'm glad that you must have signed up quickly with us when we put out the sign-up sheet. That was back on January 13th, believe it or not. So what is that, 6 weeks ago or so? So I'm glad your number came up with us and that you were able to get the vaccination on Saturday.
We have a question about COVID-19 restrictions. Kansas City and other jurisdictions have relaxed bar and restaurant hours and other mitigation factors. Is the city of St. Louis considering doing the same?
We are considering it, but we have not established a date that we're going to do that yet. Our restrictions in the city are still less than what they are in St. Louis County. Bars and restaurants were both at 11 p.m. We're both at 50% occupancy. But in terms of ballrooms and large events and that sort of thing, the county, I think, is considering, it's my understanding, coming in line with ours. And then I think, if these numbers continue to stay down as low as they are now, and they've been down, not quite this low, but they've been down pretty low for the last couple of weeks. And so if we can sustain that, then I think you can expect to see some modifications, not a complete lifting, but some modifications of some of the restrictions. We certainly want to do that.
Andrew's question, Mayor, has to do with our notification system. How are people getting their invitations, email or phone call? Concerned because sometimes people ignore unknown numbers.
So, Andrew, when you signed up, if you had one, you gave us an email address, you gave us a cell phone number. So you get your invite via email, via text message, and if you have neither of those, via phone calls. And there were a number of people who were there on Saturday, this past Saturday at the Omega Center, who had received phone calls. So phone calls are time consuming. So if you do have an email address or a cell phone that we can text you at, those are the best ways. I think there are over 60,000 people right now on our registration list, and that number's a couple of days old. There may be even more by now, but a lot of people. It'll take us a long time to get through those 60,000 people. We've got to have significantly more supply. And frankly, we have to have more outlets for people to get their vaccinations. We've been working very hard to try to get vaccine to Walgreens and CVS, who we have a lot of here in St. Louis, and they seem to be, they would be a good place to be able to get the vaccination. Walgreens has a few doses, so you should check the Walgreens website to see if they have any in your area. The other thing is, don't forget to check Walmart. Walmart is a state-designated vaccination location, so check with them as well, so that you can get signed up.
And then we had a couple of folks ask, this is COVID sort of related, is the city going to be taking another look at some of the road closures that were implemented to give people more room to space out in some of our larger parks?
So I had an email or text or something the other day from someone who wants the roads in parks reopened. And I think there'll be some of that, but I would say that for the most part, many people love having some of those roads closed to cars so that they can take walks with their friends, be socially distanced. It's something that we're looking at. The complaint that I had was with regard to Carondelet Park. Most of the notes that I get with regard to Forest Park, people are in support of keeping those roads closed. So that's something that we'll be working with the alder people on and trying to get a balance. But we do want, our parks are for people to walk, run, jog, ride their bikes. And so having some of these roads closed, we think has been a good idea.
That's all the questions I have for today, Mayor.
That's all the questions for today. Well, thank you all for being with us today. Take care, wear your masks, and we're getting ready to have a beautiful week of weather. So get out there and enjoy it. Walk in the park on one of those closed roads. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.